Well, we want to thank you for joining us again on this video. We didn't make it last week because Tony was at a bee show in Louisiana, and we thought it'd be appropriate for on this video to just talk to Tony about his bees. You know, it's been his. I'm sorry, Tony.
Let me start out and say, last week we promised to give you a list of our coop builders. So if magic works, the state they're in, and their phone number. So if you need to get a coop built, reach out to one of them.
Okay, yeah. Thank you for reminding me of that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Now, in the bee world, I tell folks all the time, when you start or outsiders, they believe that there is beekeeping the hobby and that there is beekeeping as a business, but I've said it 1,000 times. Really, when you do it right, it's beekeeping the addiction. The hardest part is your wife not kicking you out, or your husband, whichever person you are. And
or if you're like me, you really don't care too much for bees because they sting, they hurt, and they're always trying to hurt you. So I'm not.
It's medicine.
Yeah, it's medicine. Tony's got his addiction, and I certainly have mine. And
I tell folks I probably get 1,000 stings a year, and I'll never get arthritis.
Yeah. Well, you said something about. You actually about a year ago you mentioned how someone got stung in the eye.
Yeah. So I now this weekend I heard a second person, and so this is not medical advice. We are not doctors, but I know of one guy, and I talked to a person who's met a second person who and boy, talk about painful. I've been stung practically everywhere on my body, but not in my eye. The eye itself, not the eyelid. I've gotten those. They hurt too. But in the eye, he was stung. And what happened over the next month or two was that the venom of the bee actually dissolved the cataract.
Yeah, that's pretty incredible.
So, now, my joke is that's actually Obamacare. But that's the joke. It is actually a true story that at least two people I've heard of indirectly, one directly, one indirectly, that have gotten stung. And
now I sure hope we don't get a lot of feedback on this where I stung myself in the eye and hey, it works. No, we don't. We're not asking you to do that.
But all of my friends who talk about cataracts, I've offered them free medical service.
Yeah.
As long as they sign a big long form release.
Any takers so far?
None yet.
None yet. Imagine that.
There's a paid medicine that I got
Take
once.
this spike and put it in my eye, right?
But man, it's discount. I'll do it for free, no charge.
Anyway, there's no doubt that honey and bees are part of the ecosystem that has been part of our planet since God created all of us and all of mankind and all the insects of the world. And the bee, really, all you beekeepers out there already know this, but for those of you that are watching this who are chicken keepers and are interested in bees, there is so much medical advice about honey and what bees do for the environment that even though it's not my hobby, it's very incredible about just the function that a bee has in humankind. Just the medicines that come out of it, the nurture, the nutrition that comes out of honey. And let me back up a little bit. I started to ask you about your show this past weekend in Louisiana. You had a pretty incredible show. It had a great lineup, some great speakers.
It's the first time they've had this conference. It was called Be Alive in Slidell, Louisiana. And they had a top-notch list of speakers. You had Bob Benny, Dirt Rooster, Mr. Ed, the Corey Stevens. And that's the one that's right off the top of my head. And they get, I only got to go listen to actually the one from Bob, the presentations, but phenomenal guys. I'm sure every presentation is incredible because these guys are top notch. And Louisiana got to get a taste of what the whole nation, and guys like Bob, they're out there. Bob's in his 70s and he is giving everything he can back to the bee community to teach all the younger beekeepers who've this isn't stuff you're born waking up and learning. His presentation was talking about the characteristics of honey, how it liquefies and percentages, and it was magical. But it was a really interesting show, great folks all around. That's one of the great things about beekeeping. And I encourage everyone, join a local bee club, because you're going to meet a lot of really nice folks. But no matter where you live, beekeeping is incredibly local. What's being done in Massachusetts and Illinois, Louisiana and Texas, I can travel 50 miles and beekeeping completely changes.
A lot of that's because of the actual bees themselves. They react differently.
Well, it's not the bees, it's the seasons, what blossoms there. What, like you go 50 miles west of us, and we call that the hill country. I call that cliffs, because you buy 2 acres and you actually get 7 because 4 acres is vertical, and it's limestone and cedar. I don't know how bees they don't make honey out of limestone and cedar.
No, they don't. No, they don't. But well, let's get into. We don't have a lot of time, and so let's get into how you came up with this. I mean, Tony and I have been friends for a long time. We started in the chicken door business, and he's had this hobby of his with bees. And he came to me about 5 years ago wanting to do this bee vac. Well, bees is not my hobby, and I was not really all for it because I was focused on chickens. And so Tony, on his own, went to his house and he developed this bee vac, and he was using it for a long time in his hobby, and then he decided to sell it and eventually merged it with our company. And so now we're partners in it.
And I've got to go back before that.
Okay.
Because, and I tell folks, and I say this with a smile, and unless you've made your own bee vacuum, you won't understand. I love customers that have gone and made their own bee vacuum, have seen the good and the horribly bad with it, and then they get to go and buy our vacuum and realize the difference. And I did like everyone else. I went out and I took a hive body and I took a shop vac and some hoses and a top and a bottom and a flap to adjust the nozzle, and the roaring scream of a vacuum behind you for hours on end.
Well, didn't you have a generator with extension cords and ladders and the cords wrapping around your feet and hanging in trees?
And 20-foot plus hoses. And and the first time you do this, I promise you'll make what's called bee soup. And it's worse than it sounds.
It sounds bad already.
You suck all those bees in there, you have too much vacuum pressure. They suffocate. When bees are suffocating, they basically, sort of like sweating, but they form a giant blob. And it's just this soupy mess of thousands and thousands and thousands of dead bees. And everyone starts there. I've been there, I understand. And I'm using my vacuum, and it kind of sort of works, but I hate it. Because it's all these parts I'm hauling. I can't tell you how many times I've driven 5 miles down the road and turned around and came back because the second hose fitting for the adapter piece I'd forgotten. And I finally got to a point and I said, this is ridiculous. I'm an engineer. I know we can have a better bee vacuum.
Well, it sounded like it was dangerous as well. I mean, as long as you're on the ground, it's probably okay. But getting up in the ladders and trees, like I know you do, you've been to my place, done that.
Well, you can't take them up ladders. You have got to have. That's when you get a 20 or 30-foot hose, and you're extending things out, and you just have a mess with all of that.
Yeah. So.
But the way I do everything is I take a piece of paper, draw a line down the middle. What do I like about the current technology on one side? And list those traits, because the do-it-yourself vacuums, they do suck up bees, and once you figure it out, you only kill 20% of them, and it's relatively cheap. And then on the other side of the paper I said, what's wrong? Well, it's lots of parts, it requires cords and generators, it's heavy, you're fighting gaskets all the time, killing tons of bees, takes a lot of time to put it together and take it apart, and you'll get a chuckle out of this. I remember one of the first times I was getting bees in this thing, and I opened up the box. Now keep in mind, we are in Central Texas, out in the county area, and everything around here is Africanized genetics. And if you've never, people say, oh, I've seen mean bees. No, you haven't. It's, when you can't see, that's when you start talking about Africanized bees. And I opened up the box, and 70% of the bees went up and never came back. It wasn't like they sat in a tree. They were gone. And so, it's like, okay, I need to have it escape proof, and I want to get rid of extension cords. And variable speed, as silly as that sounds, was a huge thing, and lightweight and portable and all these traits that I wanted. And, You know, the very first vacuum, I've still got it, and oh my gosh, it's kind of laughable now. But it kind of sort of worked. And then it kind of evolved and evolved, and there was Gen 1 and Gen 2, and we're now on Gen 2.5. And I'm constantly getting feedback from customers with, you know, I like it, but can you do this? Can you do that? I've got a problem with this.
We did the same thing with the chicken doors as well.
Absolutely.
Our customers helped develop that over the last 12 years.
Yeah.
And so we're just taking that theory or that proven, I mean, that's a proven way to develop a product. We're taking what you guys are out there using and we're just incorporating it into our BVAC.
Yeah. And when people tell us, hey, this is, you know, some things we can't fix.
Yeah.
You know, if you want it for free, oh man, go inherit some money. We can't help there. But for countless things, we've made it better and better and better. And honestly, today, there is just nothing like it in the world. Let me grab one and kind of walk you through the basics of it. So I've put 40,000 bees in this vacuum. I've had customers tell me they've put 50,000 bees in it.
How heavy is that once you
This
get...
weighs 10 pounds.
Okay, when you get 40,000 bees in there, how much does it weigh?
That more than doubles the weight.
Okay.
You're in the low 20, 25 pound range.
So even full, this is lighter than those homemade jobs.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
half
even
the weight.
full. And there are some competitors that make something similar, but again, they're not anywhere near like this. Empty, they weigh 50 pounds.
Yeah.
I've actually picked one up. I was surprised. And so this, like Tony said, there really is no comparison to this.
Yeah. And the other part of it is setup time. If you're doing 2 removals a year, I laugh at folks and I tell them, just do them by hand. It won't really matter. You don't need a vacuum. But when you start doing 4 or 5 a year, or if you're doing, 3 or 4 a day, this thing will save you half an hour or an hour on every removal. And like, I was talking about improvements, things like both ends of the hose swivel. It's got a good flexibility. It's very smooth on the inside.
Now, a lot of people don't think it's smooth because of the outside. It's got that accordion look.
Yes.
But it is made where it is smooth on the inside.
That is a great question.
And so we don't want you to get confused by the outside look. That the inside is smooth. And I've been told that's important because by the time the bee gets into one that's not smooth, he's so beat up he looks like Mike Tyson. So.
And using technology, I'm going to interrupt now and you can see what the inside of the hose looks like now. Extension cords and generators. This thing is cordless. So 2 things. Now this is the remote, and what's great with the remote is I'll clip this on my shirt, and I've got a backpack strap, not on this one, but I'll put that on my back, and as I'm going up the ladder, I have control right here on my chest. This unplugs, and now as I've gotten older, I'm doing less of running up the ladder, and instead I put this on a chair right next to me and I do removal that way. And with that, it's also got a built-in speed control knob. Inside, it's got a lithium-ion battery. I promise you this will run at least 6 hours.
I think some people even hang it with a hook like this off the ladder. I've had it.
Actually, that's what I'll do is
Yeah.
I'll take my backpack straps, and I can either hang them on with the straps or just have a hook and hang it on here. This handle.
So you don't need 25 feet of hose anymore. A 7 or 10 foot hose is really all you need.
I remember one call from a customer, and he was just tickled pink because, and this guy does this professionally. He was inside doing a removal, and someone came and said, "Hey, there's a volleyball of bees outside." And so he just picked the vacuum up, went outside, sucked up those bees, went back in. Took him a minute to come and go. And he's like, with my old vacuum, it would have taken me 20 minutes to take this thing, haul it outside, find a plug, harass with it, fight with it, and then repeat the whole process to come back in. That would have been probably 40 minutes, maybe even an hour, just moving back and forth. This thing, 10 pounds, fill it with bees, okay, 15, 20 pounds. It's mobile. I've got a lot of guys that they will, they'll go just keep this in the trunk of their car and put it in the trunk. They get a swarm call, it's good to go. They still have room for grocery bags and other things, but it's the compact nature that makes it so
Now
convenient as well.
we've talked a little bit about how customers have given us feedback to make it better. I know we don't have enough time to go into all of the stuff that Tony's put into this thing because of what customers have, but we had one recently about a vent in the bottom, about a fake bottom so that it can be vented. And a customer had asked Tony about that because here in Texas, it's extremely hot. And when you vacuum up a lot of bees, in Texas anyway, or maybe in Florida or any of the southern states, on a 110-degree day, these bees will not make it very long without a lot of airflow.
Yep.
So Tony listened. He did. He listened.
We tried a bunch of different things, and they were just kludgy and just not really what you want. But it's one of the wonderful things. Try again. Failures meaning not getting up again. We kept trying, and we finally ended up with this. So what we've done,
If you'll notice, this has handles on the bottom, and this one doesn't.
yeah, these handles. So this is the fake bottom. This goes on there, and you can see my pretty face right through. We've got ventilation top and bottom. And our customer, and I'll mention Dawn, she's in South Texas near Brownsville, and talk about, that's about as close to the surface of the sun as you get.
Yeah, that's pretty hot down there.
She doesn't have air conditioning in her truck, and God bless her. And she's doing 3-4 removals a day.
Wait till she gets our age, she'll have air conditioning.
She is almost our age.
Is she really?
Yes.
Oh man, she must be tough.
She got a daughter that's I think 25.
Oh man. They're definitely tough women.
They are. Oh, they're doing this together, mother-daughter.
Oh, wow.
And they're doing a great job.
Well, God bless you if you're listening.
But anyway, the morning removal, it's sitting in the truck for 10 hours, and she was losing some of those removals in the regular vac. And so as we tried different things, I sent her one of these to try out, and she was just overjoyed. No more dead bees, no more problems with that, even without the AC. As long, got to keep this in the shade, but the bees are doing great. And I joke the second greatest force on earth is 2 buckets stuck together. Of course, most powerful force on earth is obviously God, but when these things are stuck together, nothing's coming apart. So yeah, that's an example of things that we've done. And other things like you saw that bigger nozzle, this is a shorter nozzle. You saw the remotes. And this is the brains of the whole vacuum. In here's the battery, the control board, the vacuum motor, and little things like we put a screen over this so that I can't tell you how many because if you're going to kill your vacuum, you're probably going to suck stuff into this vacuum motor. And these motors are very high speed, very well balanced. We can replace them, it's not a big deal, but the screen helps protect them. When you set the head down, please put it down this way, not flipped over. But you've got the speed control here. We also have a Pro unit, and the white ring tells you it's got a bigger battery, and that's at 40% more capacity. And it just, this is the brains of the whole vac. And if you're doing multiple removals, fill up one bucket, close, it's got the gate valve on the side, so pull out the hose, close the gate valve. It's, those colonies, they're good to go. Get your next bucket and keep going on your second colony, third colony, until you run out of, one removal a day is about all I can do. Second removal probably would kill me, especially in the Texas heat. But God bless you guys out there doing 3 and 4. I don't know how you do it. Younger and stronger.
Well, we really thank you guys for spending the time to watch this video, and I know Tony could talk for hours about his bees. I mean, you can tell he loves his hobby just like I love mine. Maybe we'll talk about mine sometime. There's no product involved in mine. I just like to do it. But Tony's taken his love of bee removals and just bees in general, and he's taken it to a level that is in the professional realm. He has become one of the experts in our area about not only how to vacuum up bees and take care of them, but which bees to choose from, and how to grow your bees, how to keep them safe, how to keep them hydrated, what you do in the winter, and even the different diseases that a bee can get. And so he's become the expert in the area. And so if you have any comments or any questions about bees, if you're just now getting into beekeeping, please send those to us, and I know Tony would love to respond. He loves talking about bees, and you're not putting him out. He would really love to share his knowledge with you. You can ask me, but I'm just going to ask him, so why don't you just go straight to him.
I joke with my friends and say, if you want to talk about bees and you got 2 minutes, just hide your face and keep going like you never saw me. If you have 2 hours, okay, let's sit down and have some fun conversation.
Yeah. But Tony's a wealth of information. He's done a lot of research into bees, and I doubt that there's very many people that know or has done as much research about just the health and keeping of bees as Tony has. And I know there's a lot more to this bee vac, and in future videos we will bring them up. We'll be glad to talk about it. But anything else you got? Or
The honey is throughout the Bible.
yeah,
It is, and it's practically a miracle food. Really doesn't ever go bad.
yeah,
And you know, I tell folks I have a love relationship with my bees, and it actually has made me a better person, because what I've learned is I love my bees. They hate me with a passion, and at some point I'll show some videos of what that looks like. But their hatred and wanting to kill me really is a redirected version of they love their colony so much that they'll sacrifice their own life to protect their colony by trying to kill me. And you know, you turn that story right around with Christ and his sacrifice. That's, you know, it touches there.
yeah.
So
Well, we always like to leave on that note with a little bit of scripture in the Bible, and thank you for that, Tony. And we are Christians, and we understand that not everybody that's going to watch this is going to be a Christian or is a Christian, but it's our desire that you discover the truth and not just what we say. So I'd like to encourage all of y'all to just seek out the truth, and you will, I know with confidence that if you are looking for the truth, you will find the truth, and the truth will lead you to Christ. So, but me telling you that, you'll not discover that. You need to do that on your own. So our prayer is that you'll not only pay attention to what we're trying to share with you, but you'll become the man or woman that God created you to be. And I know you can. So thank you.
amen.